multiple sites. I didn't know if it was okay to use the name Melissa to share that the multiple McDonald's throughout the county, and I get to watch Melissa usually on Why Should I Care on the WCIS. Did I get that right? And then also she has another radio show, a WAME. She is a volunteer throughout the community. She still has children in our county, and I first met Melissa when we were discussing just public education. She's a huge advocate for public education and just an amazing woman. And last but definitely not least, she is one of the amazing county commissioner-elects for this amazing county, and I'm so happy that we're going to have your leadership. And so for everyone, I wanted to introduce or reintroduce you to our guest speaker this morning, Ms. Melissa Neader. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about resilience and grit, especially during times like this. So please help me welcome the woman, the Wonder Woman, the legend, Ms. Melissa Neader. Welcome, Melissa.
Wow. Thank y'all so much. This is an honor. It really is. I wish we were all in a room together. But this is close. I have to tell y'all though, with the whole Zoom thing, it's nerve-wracking and awkward, if you will. I'd much rather speak to a group of people in a whole room full. If you've ever been either cursed or blessed with hearing me speak to your group, I move around a lot. And that's hard for me to hold still because I've got that energy to where I really want to get my point across. And when I work with teenagers, a lot of times I'll speak in classrooms and work with them. I've been known to walk up a time or two and smack a desk if they look sleepy. So that. But I did have my first experience with Zoom with kindergartners. I was a guest on for NB Mills. And I set up my Zoom room, so I had like the Happy Meal display. Now, this morning, of course, we have plants, so we all feel strengthened, nature and breathing. At that Zoom, though, I had read a story with puppets. So if my hand comes up and I've got eyeballs on my hand, it's just to get your attention. But it has been, wow. You know, it's like if I hear one more thing about uncertain times or one more commercial or one more thing about all of us in this together. Yeah, we're together, but I'd like to think that we were together before this. And when you say we're all on the same, we might be going down the same river together, but we've all been given a different vessel to transition this with. It has been eye-opening to what I thought people would act like throughout this. And unfortunately, I feel like instead of us coming together, we're dividing more. And I don't know, it bothers me. It really, really does. I'd like to see us embrace each other more, not sit there and point a finger at who's wearing a mask or who's standing where, or who's doing what. And just to speak to a little bit about, so I can stay on topic. And y'all feel free to interrupt me. It doesn't bother me by any means. But I do want to make sure that I stay on topic with the grit and resilience from many points. And judging by who I can see here and know you ladies, we are full of grit and resilience because we refuse to let anyone or anything keep us down. We can't. A lot of us are like-minded with, if we don't do it, who is? So with that piece, grit and resilience also comes with a sense of humor. It comes with laughter. It comes with love. It comes with knowing who you can speak with and who can help you stay on your path. It's what comes from in here. It's in your heart. It's in your head. But, you know, there are pitfalls. There are mistakes. There's so many pieces with that. And McDonald's has taught me a lot. That was never my goal. To become into, when I was young, hotel hospitality industry. If I had imagined myself young and sitting here with y'all now, I would be representing the state park system. I was on my way to becoming yes, I can say Michelle, yeah. That's what I had wanted to do. I had aimed for, I worked at Lake Norman State Park. I love that place. I love the outdoors, and it's still my therapy. If you know me, it's nothing for me to go out and grab hold of a piece of equipment and fire it to two-cycle diesel, you name it. I would rather smell diesel exhaust than I would some perfume. So there's a lot about us that is how we're wired, of how we get through this. Am I always positive and energetic? No. I'll be straight up. There's been times throughout this that fear wants to grip you. It really does. Are we doing the right things? Are we protecting we're in a business that has been opened throughout it. And I feel blessed that we've been able to accommodate and continue to stay open and provide an income for some of our staff. Not all have chosen to work throughout this, but one of those staff members is my daughter, our oldest one, and now my son as well. So we've got 2 kids in this business. And it has been one of those things. It's like I'll go in and I'm preaching, put the mask on, wash your hands. And of course the guidelines are all there, but wow, who would ever thought we'd be sitting here, a couple months back, I thought, okay, we should be through this by summer. No problem. We'll be done. We'll be back on track. And we're not. And if you watch the news, you sit there and think, oh my word, North Carolina's numbers are still going up. But we can't stop moving forward. We've got to continue. I think one of the biggest pitfalls with the grit and resilience is the humans that I've run into throughout this. Even when in the early stages, we were giving away free food, free lunches for kids, 12 and under. And I was getting email and phone calls and texts and messages and comments on posts. Do my kids not matter? My children must not matter. They're 13 and 16. They can't eat free. Do they not matter too? And that kind of shocked me. Even though I've been doing this for almost 30 years, I'm like, did not quite see that coming. And I did answer back with, of course, every child matters. If, that wasn't the whole point. We were trying to help assist the school system feed some kids. We all got to start somewhere. What are you going to do? It's like, you want to just say that back to somebody so bad. It's like, okay, what are you doing? And so many times I've had to think before I speak, because you can't take back what you say. And that's what's so hard. And assume you're being recorded. I mean, assume that someone's listening constantly. So if you say something nasty, it will surface again. But I'm not going to be a doormat either. And that's what's so frustrating is no matter what we've done, we did 1,500 meals in 1 week free. We're like 28% down and shifting drive-through, and people are still complaining because the lines aren't moving fast enough. I'm sorry, we're on a limited menu. We've got people not showing up for work. We've got, we're doing what we can, and we're supposed to smile. So one advantage of the mask is you don't have to smile. When somebody says something nasty to you, you can kind of make a face under the mask. So it has been quite, oh my goodness, an ordeal. We did over 6,000 meals for the healthcare workers. Of course, that wasn't good enough either. We love everyone, but we're a business. We can't give everything away. We do really, I believe in businesses and community working together. And when we all work together, we all do well. So how can we work together through this mess? And Shannon, I have to say that thank you for all of the emails and various things that you have shared. How about that restaurant guidelines? I mean, those are so many pieces to this, but I see us, I don't know, light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. And I've seen some people really do some creative things, and that is just so impressive. We cannot ever give up. We've got to learn to diversify ourselves. And I don't know, there is no clear picture of where this is going to lead us, but generations before us have had something. This isn't new. There's been challenges forever. What is new is we could talk about a whole lot more. It used to be growing up, there was the news at 6 o'clock and it was done and over. And then we would reach out to our neighbors on our landlines that were nailed to the wall and we talked about it. But now we're just being bombarded And it's like, so what are you going to do with it? It's just a challenge, yeah, but we're going to see where we go with this. And as a matter of fact, this afternoon I'm going to sit and watch the budget conversations for the county, and see where that leads us. So from like 12 to 5 today, I want to be a part of that. So I'm excited about where I'm going. Is it going to be easy? No. Do I have support in a community like y'all? Yes. So that's what really matters, is knowing that nothing lasts forever, good or bad. It's nothing does. So find something that inspires you. I had an interesting conversation with Tracy Alston, AOSTON. She is Mental Fitness Matters in Mooresville. And she and I just really were drilling down on some stuff. So Shannon, I'll be reaching out to you at some point with some ideas on that. But our mental fitness really, really, really does matter. We've been given a lot to process. But, you know, so if you get one takeaway out of this, I'm hoping you feel like you will have spent an hour well to us together today. And I always kind of come up with real live sayings, maybe not fit for a t-shirt or a headstone or anything like that, but don't throw trash in your recycle bin. That is my pet peeve at the house, but it's also a life lesson. If it doesn't work, don't do it again. If you got a little something out of it, reuse it again. So just don't throw your trash in the recycle bin, because I will dig down. I do dumpster dive. So
I have a question for Melissa. In regards to your business, obviously you talked about all the things that you did for the community, but have you had to change like kind of your operations of things? You know,
oh my goodness.
That maybe you'll keep going forward that you maybe wouldn't have done otherwise. I mean, you
really?
changed a lot because you're a restaurant.
Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, Mike's on a conference call right now, and it's like a 2-hour long one. Really what a good takeaway from this is since we are focused on total drive-through, is number of steps that you take in a business matter when time is of essence, okay? So we have redefined some of the areas around the drive-through where people are reaching. So my daughter uses one of the apps for her steps. So she's figured out, and Signal Hill's a prime example of this. Inside the kitchen, your placement really, really matters. So it expedites the whole process. So placement, moving, cleaning slows things down a little bit. Of course, we're on top of that. Trays, we don't have trays right now. Everything is to go. Even when we get it, we do not have our lobbies open yet. We've got so many guidelines to make sure we can't do or can do. So at this point, you're still a to go in our facility. So yeah, there's been a lot of tweaking, if you will, on that end of it. We've got some tough stuff ahead of us. As you've seen those guidelines, but still what really matters is we're taking care of people. People's health matters to me. We've got folks, well, I don't know if y'all have seen on my post, my son's buddy, Ryan, just got out of the hospital. And you want to talk high risk. You know, it's like my heart I want to put that boy in a bubble. And how do we protect him? It's by taking those steps before we're around him. But oh my gosh, hugs and healing. We can't disconnect totally. It's a balance, I guess. Is that the answer?
Yes. And I have another question for you. Michelle Hepler wants to know, what are you most excited about as you embrace your role as county commissioner? And I think we all want to know that.
Oh, the excitement with that. To cause a stir, to get people excited, to have people actually want to be a part, because I'm afraid our county commissioners, they do a lot of good for the community. What I feel like we're lacking is positive energy, getting into the community, boots on the ground, actually seeing what departments do and what residents do. I'm like, I can bring so much to the table. And if I have to, I'll smack the desk in front of them just to get people like, exactly, Michelle. It's just time to get excited. The local county government impacts your world daily. I'm like, just tell us what's going on. And we've got a divide in the county that I want to embrace both sides, pull us all together, in us together. And since I grew up on the southern end, fishing, swimming, playing in a lake, and spend summers there, I'm like, I've got the ability. If you want me to wear heels, I'll wear heels. If you want me to crank up your tractor, I'll crank up your tractor. So I'll do both. I'll wear heels on the tractor. People to know that I genuinely care about the folks of the community. Yeah, I'm excited.
Michelle, I had a question for you. You kind of alluded to it earlier. And so I struggle sometimes with doing good and being shocked by sometimes the response, you know, and I was thought of about saying not being appreciated, but I don't, like, you know, you don't do good to feel appreciated. Like, I do good to do good. But sometimes, like, the response, like, your good isn't good enough. It just, it boggles my mind. And at certain times, there's a woman I work with, she always like chastises me. She's like, oh, Porter, no good deed goes unpunished. And it's like, it's her way of trying to help me realize that every time you do good, there's gonna be someone who, you know, thinks you could have done better. So and sometimes that gets me down, and sometimes it makes me question why even bother? Because if I did nothing, you know, I wouldn't have that to have to deal with that. But my heart says you do good because you can. So I'm just wondering, like, what do you do when, you know, you've gone above and beyond and you've done things that, you know, you may be the only person, you know, doing something that's scalable is what you did. Like, how do you keep, you know, that little part of your brain that says, you know what, I'm not gonna try this time? How do you keep yourself motivated? How do you keep that energy up?
Oh yeah, that you just spoke to something that was actually in my notes, because there are times when I'm like, why do I even open my mouth? Why do I even bother? Because no matter how good or how wonderful something is I do, someone is going to try to knock the wind out of me. And they will. I'll read it in print. I'll read it in some format of social media. There will be something. And how do I get through that piece? Knowing that what I do from my heart, and I do it for the recipient, and I get pure joy out of making someone smile. But what baffles me is why 100 wonderful comments, my mind still pivots to that one or two. What am I going to do with that one? What am I going to do with that? So to answer your question, what do I do with that one? I train myself to expect it for the next time, okay? So when I plan my next piece, my next event, my next help, my next whatever it is, because I know there's always going to be a next. And Porter, don't ever stop doing what you do, because more people appreciate you than those that don't. We outnumber them greatly. And that's what I remind myself. Surround yourself by people who support what you do. And also find the confident, my daughter's one. I've got 3 great kids and a husband that understand. But here's a piece that I do. I often play devil's advocate with myself before I do something. I say, all right, what is someone going to say bad about this? And how can I go ahead and think ahead, try to stay one step ahead? So I have either a witty response or anticipation of it beforehand. Just like driving, you can't drive by looking at the hood of your car, because then you don't anticipate what those other drivers do, okay? Anticipate what is down the road. So you have your defensive driving mode on. You put your seatbelt on, you get in that car, you do what you're going to do, but then you're ready for whatever's coming at you and know that you're staying in your lane. So don't ever give it up for it. Any of you ladies, all of you have got world outside of just your own self. And that's so important, because you won't grow if you don't experience that uncomfortable zone either. So.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I have one more question, unless anyone else has.
Please do.
I was curious about your thoughts on the role of a woman, you know, in the county commissioner position, or even just a businesswoman. Someone made a comment to me once. I was advocating for some funds, and I got the funds. And one of my colleagues who was with me after this meeting, and it was like a tough battle of who's going to get these funds. And he said to me, you know, he was so impressed, and he said, you know, he said, it's amazing. He said that as a young Black female, you really went into that meeting and like stood your ground and you know, and I thought, and it never occurred to me, and I thought it never occurred to me that I was a young Black woman. I was just like, I need funds. I need funds to do something for our students. And he was just so impressed. And I thought to myself, you know, is that how I appear? Like, does my age and my youth, you know, or my gender or my race, does that really walk into the meeting before I do? So I was curious as to, you know, your thoughts on being a woman, you know, especially in, you know, entrepreneurship and politics, so male-dominated fields. Do you think that your gender, you know, and you're also fairly young as well. So, you know, does your age and your gender, do you think that walks into the room in front of you? And do you think it's, are there potential benefits and or challenges to being a young woman in politics?
Oh, I like this one. Let's drill down on this one because I'm going to make several references here. The age, I'm 51 now, but when I started landscaping, I was 20 years old. Okay, and I know I reference a lot, but you learn a lot by what you do from your jobs in the past. Here's something I made a comment to my daughter the other day. I told her, I said, you know, I can drive a truck and a trailer and I can back a piece of equipment. And here's another piece. If you're working a piece of equipment on your wet ground and you slide and you mess up, it's going to be, if I mess up, it's because I'm a girl, okay? It's not going to be those conditions. So that was always something I had to keep in mind. Women have to work twice as hard. We have to prove ourselves. We have to put forth so much effort, but that's okay. It's just making us stronger anyway. But yes, I have been on job sites. Seriously, I was 20 years old. I was a landscaper. And even when I was there, I had to be on top of my game so much because there were stupid comments going on around me. And there was a 2x4 or a plank, something I had to run a wheelbarrow over top of to get on the other side. And I'll be darned if I was going to let that pile of mulch fall over sideways. I was just so focused on that to where it has been a mindset of mine. When I was young, my dad told me girls don't cut grass. How'd that turn out? So it is just something that we've got to find. And the professional world, oh yeah, she's just a woman. What does she know? I've had a few comments, but for the most part is posture. Okay, this is something we can all do. Stand up straight. I mean, pull that spine, elongate your spine. You stand up straight. You walk into that room like you own it. You really, really do, because if someone is going to try to knock you down, a lot of times don't make yourself a target, and you can really walk into it and own it. For the most part, I've really, with that, that's done me wonders. Just attitude and perception. And I had an amazing mom who believed in me, and that gave me strength at a young age. And my kids, oh my gosh, my son told me the other day, he said, you can do anything you want, Mom. He said, this is going to be the best campaign you've ever seen. We're going to set records. So when you have your family and support staff, it means the world. But oh my gosh, yeah, I've seen it, I've faced it. But Corey, that's the thing. I don't see myself as anything but Melissa. And if that's a problem, I'm sorry, because I can't change to please you. Now, granted, did I feel like that at 20? No, that's taken me a couple years and life and experiences. So it's been a bit of a challenge for the female gender, if you will, on that end of it. But I think we're on a roll. I really do. And we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, right, girls?
Well, I like the fact that you said you're going to stir the pot. So that's what we all need, somebody to stir the pot.
Mm-hmm.
I have one more question, and I promise I won't ask any more questions.
No, I love it. That's fine. Like I said, I like our conversation to take a life of its own. If not, I feel like I'm just rambling. No. We need a direction.
I was curious about something I've been thinking about maybe for 10 years, and it's about how women can mentor other women. And when I was asked about mentors I've had in my life, and when I look back, the last 25 or so years, the majority of mentors that I've had were men. And I thought to myself, well, it has been professional. And I said, well, maybe that's just an indication of the number of men in leadership positions. But I was trying to make excuses for why that was. And I said, maybe it's me, maybe I only seek out men. But I really don't, when I look back at my life and my friends and my peers, there's been a lot of great men who have helped to mentor us. And not a lot of females who were either willing to or really served as mentors. A lot of times I get from a lot of females almost like a what not to do with your life, you know,
Yeah.
precautionary tales, but not really a lot of mentoring about how you can be a superwoman. So I'm just curious as to what's your advice for us in either seeking out mentors or being mentors for other women?
That's good. That's a very, yeah, it's another piece of personalities, because throughout this, I've run into a lot of women who are highly competitive and they don't embrace another woman in their space. So it's kind of like putting two strong-willed tigresses into the same area, because it's like, this is my domain. So I think a big skill is here reading people ahead of time. So I'm always first one to speak. I don't have a problem with that one. As far as a mentoring piece though, it's like I like to be able to identify kids. I spend a lot of time in the classrooms. I think that's important to have people volunteer and be in any organization with young ladies, especially like your girls club, boys and girls club, things like that. Be someone who approaches that kid who sits off to the side. Well, for example, it's like I will go into an 8th grade lab and I'll be in there and I'll see this one child who has no partner. No one's going to partner with them. And I try to identify those kids ahead of time and see them. And I'll go sit next to her, especially, and see where you can just embrace those kids, because if you don't, somebody else may not. And repeat visits and be seen, be heard, high five everyone. And then when you have someone approach you, and take time for them, be really one-on-one with that conversation with that person, because there are some teachers that I've had through the school system that have really been there, and they either taught me a lesson of what not to do or what to do. So there's a lot of pieces that go along with the folks. You don't realize how much of an influence you have on people in your community until someone will come up and say something. And I had seen some kids the other day over at Cool Spring School, because let's see, my son, just graduated, and we had gone back out in the parking lot and seeing some of the kids that were 5th graders there at the same time he was, and they're all getting ready to go in their opposite direction. And I was like classroom mom year after year, and I would have these kids come up and say to me, it's like, Miss Neader, you remember me, and you did such and such, and doing math facts or whatever. You don't think at that time that it matters, class getting them through the EOG or through a test or whatever, but it does to them. So we all can be mentors and not even know it. I mean, that's what's so cool about just being involved in the community. And I still, people think, I don't know, you need to be an expert in a field to be a mentor. Now, I know enough to be dangerous on a lot of things, but I'm not skilled at anything enough to walk in to have surgery on anyone, but I can put a Band-Aid on. So realize your strength, what you can do for other people, and then learn from those that you admire. Reading, if it's someone that, lives in a whole other state, or learn from what they do. Porter, when we've been sitting on committees, for instance, I will follow your thought process, and it makes perfect sense to me. So I often will find myself, what would Porter do? Like that. Yeah. So it's identify these people in your world that have the strength and the resilience, and what can you do, and how would they do it? Because if you don't go outside of your own thoughts, you're not going to grow. I mean, it's so important to. It's real easy to stay inside your comfort zone. It's not so pleasant stepping outside that comfort zone. So, a lot of pieces here. See what happens when you ask me a question? I'll just take you all over the place. But it's so cool though when you have conversations to be able to see what you can take away from it, or share, and smile. It's just so tremendous.
Awesome. Thank you.
All All right. What's my next quiz? I'm excited. I'm ready. I have to be quiet all afternoon, so y'all are being verbally.
It's a quiet group today. We're not normally quiet, so who's got a question?
I'm gonna say, don't let me overwhelm anyone. Sarah, I know you got something, Sarah Lewis, Super Sarah. I do want to ask the group something here. I don't know how to do all this. I think there might be some questions on the side. So all right, Shannon and Porter, can y'all see what input or anything is?
Yeah, we're keeping up with it. You're good.
Okay, thanks.
Lots of thank yous. Love your energy. Champion the underdog. Lots of great comments.
No swiping and saying get her off. She's done. Okay.
No.
Because it's like I do get recharged when I do things like this. I'm like, I'm so ready, and I think that's important for all of us to just keep ourselves recharged. I do have notes if I need to reference any of those, because I'm a try to prepare myself to get rid. It's like, well, I've got Susan Irvin on with me on Thursday. Come on, Why Should I Care? And let me tell you what, that show has taken on a life of its own. That was an accident too. I had not planned on that being something, another thing, embrace those opportunities, because when they show up in front of you, you may not get them again. Just because you don't know how to do it doesn't mean you shouldn't try it. So with the radio piece though, it is, oh my gosh, it has been so many interesting folks, and it's been able to connect people. It's always been good to be able to walk past somebody and say, what can I do or how can I help? But with the radio, it has given me opportunity to get it out farther, make those connections, and it gives me an excuse to call someone. It's like, hi, this is Melissa, Motivational Monday, and find out really what they're doing in the community. Instead of, a lot of nonprofits are doing great things, but they're not on the right track. Just because someone has passion inside them doesn't mean that the folks around them do. And I found that to where I think that's been one of the biggest challenges for nonprofits, is realizing that just because they love their cause doesn't mean everyone they walk past is going to. And we're getting ready to go into a tough months, years actually, I'm afraid, for funding, for how can we help each other, and the need is going up. So that's going to be, what are we going to do with that as a community? So there's going to have to be a lot of folks from a lot of different directions coming together at the same table to make sure that we come up with a way to solve these issues, from county to nonprofits. And that's one of the gaps right there that I think we've got. And I'd like to see folks come together. There's a lot of nonprofits doing heavy lifting. And let's get us all kind of on the same pathway. So maybe work together on some projects too. A lot of pieces for that.
Melissa, how are you taking care of yourself? Because you have not closed one day since this all started, and that's grinding. That's really tough. And you work with your husband, so it's sort of like you're both grinding away. How are you both taking care of yourself, and then how are you taking care of others without neglecting yourself?
Exactly. My events came to a screeching halt, as we all have, so with that piece of it, the demand wasn't there so much there was at first, that the frantic scramble, as I call it, the rescheduling, the change of the how you did things throughout the day. But it also enabled me, because I didn't have so many appearances and so many things to do, to yard work, to find beauty in just outside, just stop for a minute and be able to spend that extra time. My youngest one, she's 16 now, so she was home, and we were able to, and she needs her driving hours, so she is now my personal driver. So it enabled me to reconnect in some areas that I felt like I was flying past. So it was very important. How do I take care of myself? Is having that moment outside. I mean, you could be having just the worst day ever, and if you just step outside and realize, oh my gosh, I don't have to do this by myself. Prayer in your own style, conversation within yourself. Be one in here for a little while and just identify what is going on at this fast-paced world around yourself. And I need my alone time, as I call it. It's just, you need that moment to recharge. It's so crucial too. And a lot of times folks I'll ask folks, all right, ladies, while you're sitting here, I want you to think of a flower in your head. What do you think one of the toughest blooming plants there is? Okay. Well, I know, here I go again in the yard. That's just my passion, the yard, and the beauty of nature. And you think it's like, okay, maybe that rose with those thorns, but yet you can't get to that bloom. There's a lot of amazing plants, so you can learn lessons from your garden. But one of the biggest takeaways I get is think about something that blooms where it's not even planted. Think about a yellow flower that can pop up in concrete. Some people aim and kill it with Roundup. Some people try to demolish it with broadleaf applicants in their yard. Some people put it in their salads. How can you be that grow even when conditions aren't favorable dandelion? So right there in my head, how many inspirational quotes have you ever seen with the little dandelion things going off to the side? And how can we try to kill that off and yet appreciate it at the same time? So yeah, that's one of my big things. It's like, just be able to take your lessons from nature. When those conditions aren't favorable, you still have got to grow and bloom. Laugh. Oh my goodness, laugh. And laugh at yourself. Crying out loud, that's the biggest thing. It's just be able to do it. And how many times have you been fixing one of your favorite recipes, especially lately, and open up the cabinet and realize that you don't have sugar or flour or something? I mean, it's just been, don't even say the word toilet paper. If I have one more roll of McDonald's toilet paper in my house, it has just been, what do you do with it when you feel like, oh my word, I can't take one more thing? And that is, and well, when you say that, usually kids bring you one more thing you don't want or need to deal with. So yeah, it's tough to be able to find those ways, but then just realize again that, yeah, this is going to be something we look back at every day and laugh. Fall back on your strengths. What are you good at? What do you want to improve? Those things. We're all wired so differently. So, and it's like just being comfortable with yourself. We all, especially women, we are very critical of ourselves. I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, what did I do to my hair? And I'm seeing myself talking, and you know, with these Zoom, you'd think they'd give a facelift or something. But wow, the angle of the camera, my neck. But it's all life of being able to laugh. Irma Bombeck, what was it? My mom used to listen or read. I'm showing my age big time here. Never trust a woman with clean muffin tins. I'm going way back here. The 80s, maybe.
Maybe I have muffin tins.
Exactly. These are the things that's like, you just got to laugh and realize, oh my goodness, did I say that? Did I do that? And my biggest challenges is before I do, see, y'all were just stuck with me with impromptu. My notes, yeah, they're just, forget them. Because I wanted to sound like a professional. You know, like, Porter, do you need an outline? Here's my outline. It's just like, let me go. But it is to where one of the hardest things I had to do before all this campaigning was make sure that I covered my speeches. And I will give y'all a clue. When I did that, not a clue, an inside story here. After the primary was done, and wow, talk about it. Can I take y'all through that emotional journey? How are we in time? All right, I don't see anybody sleeping yet. That was, holy cow. I believe in myself that I'm supposed to be doing this because I feel that I've got, how do I say it? Inner spirit pushing me forward. I'm not doing this by myself. Okay. I know where I'm supposed to be going. And then I spent the entire day, primary day, March 3rd, down at the Lake Norman Fire Department, smiling, greeting, conversation, scaring people, whatever it took. You know, as they're on their way by, they're running past us. Or this whole working of the pulse thing, I'm kind of on the fence with. If you want to learn more about me, come talk to me, but I'm not chasing you down with my business card, vote for me kind of thing. So I spent the day at the fire department down there in the rain with an umbrella, listening to other politicians say things that I wish I hadn't heard sometimes. And I'm like, folks, we've got to play fair. But it was on my way home from that, and I was watching some numbers coming in or listening to numbers. I'm like, holy cow, what if I don't get this? I've already got my mindset that I have a seat at the table. And of course, you got different precincts coming in these numbers. And I'm like, all right, stop looking, get in the Suburban, drive home, and just let it go for a minute. Let it go. You've done what you could do. And I'm driving home. It's like, all right, so what if I don't? What's next? And of course, I'll find something. It's not like I lack, but I just kind of had my target and my mission set. And sometimes we have to stop a second and think, okay, how much control do we have? How little control do we have? It's like when you put forth your effort, then you just kind of got to let it. It's like, here it is. Just let it go with that. And so, yeah, I was watching numbers. By the time I got home, I went and started clicking on the state election site for the county and watching the numbers come in. And it was a little nerve-wracking. And I refreshed the page and see where I was going to be. And at one point I'm like, oh, number one, not bad. Oh, not at all. So it's this emotional thing of like, what in the world have I done to myself? Because and I had someone tell me, if you run for office, you're opening yourself up and allowing people to criticize you. No, I'm not. I'm opening myself up to have people respect me with conversations of different opinions. But back on where I was going with this was I made it through that evening, and I was overwhelmed with the support that I received, because I have to share that was a totally community supported campaign. I did not lean on any one group of people to work for me. That was totally the community speaking, and that's what I needed to hear. I didn't want to ask for help from any organization. I didn't make any promise to anyone other than I was going to be the best leader that I could be. And with that, it really showed, and I have to say, had a lot of people going, how did she do that? And I'm like, see? So it was a personal victory, and embrace those, but don't get stuck on them, because the next day may not be a victory. But I have, of course, when I tell stories, I go down different pathways. So let me get back on the road that I had originally started. I sat in this spot where I'm sitting now and did my thank you, because I genuinely always, that's another key piece. There's like DPD again. Always say thank you, and be familiar with thank you and I'm sorry. Those are two big ones right there. And be ready to accept what you do. But my daughter, was videoing me. Jenny was videoing me sitting on the window seat. My biggest fear was I can't memorize anything, nothing at all. So I would never make it in Hollywood at all, unless you're going to do Whose Line and do a little impromptu. But I had on behind her was this huge board of what I was supposed to say next. Thank goodness it wasn't Facebook Live. That's all I can say. But it was a constant reminder that folks are wired so differently, because some people can memorize their lines. You've seen these y'all might be able to do it. Actresses that can just memorize line after line and just spit it right back out when they're supposed to. Me, I'm like, oh, what was I supposed to say? I mean, I will think back about our conversation today and go, did I say what I was supposed to say? Did I cover what I was supposed to do? So it was just a whole lot of various different thoughts that go through your head, but I'm always so determined to want to make sure I get my message across. And it takes a cheat sheet behind your kid,
I think that's what makes you very authentic, though, Melissa.
I'm sorry, what was that, Shannon?
That's what makes you very authentic in how you talk to folks, because it's not rehearsed. It's not wrong with that, but it does. It's genuine.
Oh, you're going to get the real me. No, now I do have to gear it down for some folks because I do scare them. I'm serious. People are like, ugh, make them uncomfortable. And I don't know if it's me making them uncomfortable or if it's themselves making them uncomfortable. So a lot of times,
well, not everybody's comfortable talking about how, what they're thinking,
no, they're right.
The comfortable part is like, oh,
It is. It is. And it's, so it'll be interesting to see on this next journey, where and how that goes across. I don't expect people to sing and dance when I walk in the room, but I am aware of who I've got who is already aiming for me. So I'm prepared. I am prepared. And someone made a comment that politics is going to eat me alive. No, it's not. I will not let it. I will not let it, because I've got people like y'all that believe maybe I'm going to screw up. Yeah, but I'll tell you when I do, and I will fix it somehow, some way. And people are always going to have preconceived notions. Holy moly, I don't understand, but they always have. There's always going to be someone that has their mind made up, and no matter what, and you can't convince them. It's kind of like when you go through drive-through, and we've had people, thank goodness for cameras over the register, they come through, they will pay you with a $10 bill, but swear up and down it's a 20. You have to count that drawer back right in front of them and prove that they paid with a 10. And it's like, you can't get it through their head even after you review footage. They will pull off the side and come in. It has been eye-opening to work in the public. And that's what I was speaking. I guess Jeff McNeely had asked me to comment to me one time early on. And he said, are you prepared? Because it was rather he had been sitting in front of a group that was drilling him pretty hard. And he made a comment. He said, are you sure you want this hot seat? And I said, trust me. I said, I've been cussed. I've had drinks thrown at me. I've had a lot of training just, working for the public. It's 30 years and from the long end of it. So you can't let those few slow you down. But, and that's a funny thing. It's like, I enjoy when I'm in a setting to where it's not like-minded folks. It's not going to be an enjoyable evening. I typically try to go sit next to someone who's not very fond of me. I just to get their reaction. How you doing? Just kind of be able to bring that piece to the table.
Well, thank you, Melissa. Every time I'm in a room with you, you have a grace that I'm still trying to learn.
Grace, did you say?
Yes. I'm something I'm working on. So I enjoy when I get to be in
Or we can hang out anytime you want. We'll social distance.
Yes. I think what would Melissa do? Like, when I'm hot and bothered and I just want to explode, I have to think, how gracefully would Melissa handle this right now?
Oh.
So thank you for joining us this morning. I really appreciate your guidance and your words of wisdom and especially sharing your experiences, especially those emotional experiences that you go through, even while maintaining that confident and poised that face and giving off confidence to the community. I think we all are in a space right now where we're struggling to accept. I hate using that word new normal, but this new world that we live in, and I think everyone on this line is a caretaker. Not only of ourselves and our family, but trying to do what's best for the community. And I think it can have a toll on us sometimes.
Oh, it does.
To hear how you've been managing and how you've been so successful in doing so. So I appreciate that. And I didn't know, is there any updates we want to share with our group for Leading Ladies?
I don't think so.
All right.
Just that we have Maureen up next.
Oh, yay.
Looking forward to it, ladies.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we'll be in person soon. We're kind of, just waiting to see, when that, right now I think we're up to 25 indoors with social distancing. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of just waiting to see how that looks. We haven't had an in-person meeting in any committee right now. So, Maureen, thank you for next month. And we'll send out an email reminder for that so y'all can register ahead.
Great.
And Kelly asked a question, leadership Statesville meeting online. We're kind of in a pause right now. We might have one more meeting, but we're still working on our project. Mm-hmm. And we're not doing a leadership Statesville next year because we would be recruiting right now. So we're just going to take a year off.
And Melissa, you have a number of thank yous in our chat box. I think I just saw Sherry say thank you for your inspiration and your dedication, and I think we all echo those same sentiments.
My pleasure. It really, really is. And I just want everybody to accept themselves and realize that it's okay to feel fear. It's okay to feel anger. It's okay to feel confused. It's what we do with that. And at the end of the day, if you could record yourself all day long and you had to watch yourself at the end of the day, what would you change? Or what would you leave the same?
Nice.
How can we be a dandelion? That was what Sarah said that.
Good one, Sarah. I like that. Should be the quote of the day. How can we be a dandelion? Good one, Sarah. Well, thank you again. Thank you for joining us, Melissa. And thank all the ladies for joining us and for your continued support of this organization. And I really cannot wait until we are all in the same room together again and hug without fear.
It's gonna be a hug fest out there.
That's just hug fest for the first meeting. Yes. Nothing else but hugs the first meeting, and then we'll start again.
I'm deprived on those. Oh my word, I miss the hugs.
Thanks, Melissa. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah.
Thank y'all so much. It's been my pleasure. What a way to start the day.
Definitely. And have a wonderful rest of the week. Short week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Y'all too.
Thanks, ladies. Heart.
Yes, hearts. Our hearts. Yes. Take care. Bye,
Y'all too.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa.